Oh, hi, everybody. What's going on, guys? I'm Tyler, and I'm going to do something a little bit different in this video because last night I went to a special late night Christmas party screening of The Room, and I got to meet the one and only Mark himself, Greg Sestero, who regularly comes to Kitchener at this one art house theater that I regularly go to. If you live in the Kitchener Waterloo region like I do, then you've probably heard of the Princess Cinemas, which are two theaters right across the street from one another. It's an art house independent theater. They show a lot of really good and unique movies that don't really get released in many mainstream theaters nowadays, and you can definitely tell that it had a respectable reputation even among people who never went, because when it was under threat of closure by its landlords, people got pissed, myself included. And thankfully, that uproar led the landlords to reconsider, and thank God, because those guys were dickheads. In any case, everything that happened before the screening was just such a unique experience. I got signatures from Sestero himself. He signed this audiobook that I bought, and yeah, I for some reason was not expecting him to sign it that way. That's just so awesome. 11 and a half unabridged hours just listening to Greg Sestero do a Tommy Wiseau impression and talk about his life. That alone is just worth ticket pricing. As you saw, I have an official Disaster Artist poster. I don't know how I'm gonna fill up this much space in my room. And I had no idea that you even sold these. The official script, the official original draft, because once you read it, and if you've ever seen the movie or even seen like little bits of it, you can read this and say, this isn't what happened in the movie. What happened? And this is an original draft. This was written, I think it was written for a stage play based on what Sestero said, and it even has a pre-transcript written here by Wiseau himself, and I have no idea, nobody has any idea what this means. This play can be played without any age restriction. It will work if the chemistry between all the characters makes sense. Human behavior and betrayal applies to all of us. It exists within ourselves. You love somebody? Do you? What is love? You think you have everything, but you don't have anything. You have to have hope and spirit. Be an optimist. But can you handle all the human behavior or others' behavior? You don't want to be good, but great. Light years ahead of its time, man. Light years ahead of its time. So here's what usually happens during a room screening, or at least what happens during a room screening at the Princess. What would usually happen is that Sestero comes out, he gives a brief introduction, and he brings out volunteers as Johnny and Lisa to read out certain scenes from the movie, or at least from the first draft, because there's more of a surprise element to reading the scenes that aren't in the movie. For example, there's one bit where they're about to have dinner, and Lisa puts pasta in the oven. The theater completely lost its shit when that happened. And just reading this dialogue, if you thought the movie was sexist, this is a completely different level. I mean, some scenes are still the exact same verbatim, just with minor differences. Like, half the conversations between Lisa and her mom are actually over the phone as opposed to just being in person, which would explain why every time she walks into the house, she leaves like 2 minutes later, which comes into one of the best catchphrases that the audience would say, because, you know, I've been vocal about people not talking during movies, but it's The Room. You can't go on watching this movie without saying something. And I learned, among other things, that the audience members for The Room have much more catchphrases than the entire cast of Hamilton. Whenever someone walks into Johnny's apartment, everyone is chanting, "Close the door! Close the damn door!" Because everybody leaves the front door open, and even the back door, which is like, I don't know, 2 feet away, which yeah. Why am I even saying it makes no sense? You already know it makes no sense. It's the fucking room. There were things I knew going in, like the fact that every time there's a picture frame of a picture with a spoon, somebody shouts, "Spoon!" and then they throw plastic spoons at the screen, kind of like Rocky Horror where they throw food. And the theater had a big Tupperware bin full of plastic spoons. I grabbed so many. I ran out, unfortunately. I wish I did what the people right in front of me did when they brought their own actual plastic cutlery. I really should have thought of that. There are a lot of scene transitions involving San Francisco, and the big chant was, "Meanwhile in San Francisco." Kind of like Meanwhile Back at the Ranch, which is a typical screenwriting format when you have to transition from one plot to another or one scene to another. One I didn't realize and one that I really appreciate was because of how many slow pans there are from like one building to another or from one side of the Golden Gate Bridge to another, the audience, and I caught on to this right away, just go, 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 yeah! Oh, we are such fucking idiots. But the biggest surprise and probably the biggest letdown as an actual, I don't know, human being who's actually seen The Room is just how fucking long the sex scenes are. The guy beside me kept saying this is the worst porno ever, which is a bit of an understatement. The songs might actually be the best part of the movie because you can actually understand what the hell they're saying and there's actually coherent sense. There was a big thing where every sex scene during the music, everyone would go, "Still coming. Cancer. Still coming. 1 week later. Higher, higher, higher. Lower, lower, lower." It got to a point where I just sat there and I'm like, man, I really wish you guys were Minutemen. This was just the exact same dumb shit that I was expecting from a movie like this, and I am so glad. You know what? There are TIFF movies that didn't have as great of a cinematic experience as watching The Room with a bunch of half-drunken idiots who throw spoons at the screen, and every time someone throws a football, they're like, "Sports! Sports! Sports!" Now, after the movie was over, Sestero came back because he was in the lobby the entire time, like, giving out autographs, taking pictures. He took a picture with me, signed my stuff. I wish I brought a football for him to sign. That would have been funny, because the guy sitting next to me also had a football that he brought, and he actually went up to the front row because there was enough space during the big scene where they're like playing catch dressed as tuxedos. He found another guy and they were passing it along. But anyway, Sestero came out. He gave a 20-minute Q&A. He gave out like some minor details about some upcoming projects that he had. I actually got to ask him a question. I asked him, I've been thinking about this since I watched John Travolta's The Fanatic, which if you've seen it, don't watch it sober, please. I asked him if there was a so bad that it's good movie that he appreciated maybe almost as much as The Room, and he mentioned this early 90s Brad Pitt movie that... Shit, the name escapes me. Hang on. And it's called Johnny Suede. It's an early 90s movie that cost like $500,000 to make. It made $90,000 worldwide, and Sestero mentioned how he once turned it on like midway through on TV, and like after 5 minutes his dad's like, "Turn that shit off, will ya?" As expected, Sestero did a lot of good Tommy Wiseau impressions. He talked about what would happen if you'd ask a personal question. He'd go, "Okay, so here's what I'm saying. There's this positive door on the left here and this very negative door here, and which one do you want me to be on this side?" He told us about a guy who was originally in the first half of this movie and then he quit and got replaced by somebody else. And 10 years later when he showed up at Comic-Con, was like, "Get out. I'm sorry, you have to go." And shoved him out. One question I wasn't expecting anybody to ask, but was still a really good one, was what kind of actual good movies are among his favorites. And it turns out he's a very big Billy Wilder and David Fincher fan. Sunset Boulevard and Seven are among two of his favorite movies, and I gotta say, that's a pretty good choice. He talked about a horror movie that he filmed not too far away from where I live that he described as half Hills Have Eyes and half Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I'm already sold. He's gonna bring it to the Princess hopefully next fall, or at least That's what he told us. He didn't really give that many specifics. James Franco's other brother is actually a part of the movie as well. That'll be really interesting. And apparently he'll be on season 2 of a Netflix series that I have absolutely no idea what that could be. He can't say anything, so... what a tease. So yeah, as you can guess, watching The Room in a theater like this, with such a great crowd to see it, was such an amazing experience. I was going to talk a little bit about the actual movie or the actual behind-the-scenes stuff, but chances are if you're watching this review, you probably already know half of this stuff anyway, and if you don't, what are you doing? Go watch The Room. You can find it anywhere. It's hilarious. It's the worst thing you'll ever see, but it's awesome. And if you don't, at least watch The Disaster Artist. You can at least get a quicker idea of what happened. Well guys, thank you as always for watching. Let me know what your favorite scene or your favorite line of The Room is down in the comments below. And be sure to like, subscribe, and check out my other reviews at noperfectmovie.com. Take care.